paying income on
Alright, I got 1 o'clock on here, so let's get going. Today we are starting chapter 4. What chapter 4 is talk about is credit. So, going back to our definitions, if we look at our T1 jacket here that I handed out to you guys. So, page 3 pertains to income. So basically, any type of income that you can get, it's on page 3. So after we calculate all our different types of income, we get our total income. Page 4 pertains to our deductions. So what a deduction is it takes your total income, and from your total income you have your deductions, and then that gives you your net income. So yeah, can you guys take your forms, please, before you sit down? So deductions take your total income and reduces that down to net income. And then after we get our net income, for the sake of this course, we usually just say that our net income is going to be equal to our taxable income. After we get our taxable income, we figure out our taxes owing. Taxes owing, we do that calculation on page 5. And then right after we figure out the taxes owing, we look at the credit. So where we're going to be at for this LO for chapter 4 is basically page 5 and page 6. So what a credit is it's a vehicle used to reduce your taxes payable. So you figure out your total taxes payable, then you use your tax credits to reduce the amount of taxes that you owe to CRA. Does that make sense? So that's where we're at. And when we're done going through the content for the second half of this double period, then we'll do a simple demonstration question. That's where you guys are going to be using this tax form as well as your Schedule 5, and we'll just do a really simple tax return. Just to, solidify the concepts. So, going from net income to taxable income, we have a whole bunch of different types of income that we can get. So we can have our employment income, business income, property income being your passive income. You can have like your foreign income, you can have capital gains. So you have all that. Once you get your total income, that's the first 4 rectangular boxes. Once we figure that out, we apply our deductions. Our deductions take us from our total income down to our net income. And then from our net income, if we have anything applied to further reduce our net income, which for the sake of this course we don't, but usually for the sake of this course our net income is going to equal our total income or taxable income. And then once we get our taxable income, what we then do is we figure out the taxes owing. So the taxes owing, that's that area on page 5 of your tax return where you see 5 different columns with various amounts of incomes. So basically, what's going on here is the more money you make, more you're going to get taxed. Does that make sense? So the lowest tax rate is 0 to 49,000. Highest is anything above 216,000. Now, these tax brackets, they're all indexed. So in 2021, this was 0 to 49,020. 2023 number, this would be 0 to 53,350. So somewhere around there. So they change from year to year. Does that make sense? Now, the way this is designed is that if you make the exact same amount each year in taxable income, like let's say you make 70,000 in 2023, 70,000 in 2024, 70,000 in 2025, so on, so on, so on. Let's say that's your scenario. The tax system is geared such that you're going to pay an incremental bit more of tax each period. The reason for that is these brackets here, they all increase marginally from year to year. Does that make sense? And they increase higher than at a quicker rate than your tax credits. Make sense? So that's why you see that your taxes owing will increase very marginally if you make the same amount year after year. Make sense? Okay, that's just the way it is. So also, as you make more money, your tax rate changes. So the lowest tax bracket is 15%, highest is 33%. So again, that goes to show the fact that CRA wants to or wants you to pay more money if you make more money, basically. Make sense? Okay. Now, let's say if you are making 36,550 in 2021, you're going to be in the first tax bracket. You're going to be in the 0 to 49,000 tax bracket. All right. So you can see that if you go to page 5 of this T1 chart here. So let's go to page 5. You're in the 0 to 49,000. So what we would do would be right now. If we're paying 15% on 26550, we're paying $5,483, and that's just the federal amount. The provincial amount would be like maybe another 10% on top of that. So you'd be paying like another $3,000. So let's then call that like 8,483. That's what, about 20% of that number, give or take. The thing is if we didn't have tax credits, there's no way on God's green earth that this person could afford their tax bill. No way whatsoever. So that's why we have tax credits. Basically, they're a vehicle used to help people lower their taxes payable, because if otherwise we didn't have them, then we'd all be broke, or we'd all participate in the underground economy, cheating the government, like any which way we could. Does that make sense? Okay. That makes sense. It does, actually. It really does. Okay. Okay. Let's see this example here. Okay, Joan Jett. She has taxable income of $50,000 in 2021. So calculate her federal taxes payable. Okay, let's not write in this. We'll just go through the logic. So let me just pop this up here. Don't write this thing yet. Just save it for when we get to demo question 4 next class. Okay. So basically, if we're making 50,000, we're going to be in the second tax bracket here. We're going to be right here. So we would write 50,000 here, and 50,000 minus 49,020. That would give us $980. So that $980, we'd multiply that by 0.205, and that would give us 980 times 0.205. That's going to give us $200.90. Next question is where does this 7353 come from? That comes from basically multiplying this $49,020, which is the basically the ceiling of the first tax bracket. Taking that number and multiplying it by 15%, we would get that number. Does that make sense? And continuing on the same logic, this $17,402, that's basically the ceiling of the second tax bracket, which is $98,040 multiplied by actually it'll be the $49,020 times 15%, and then the difference between $98,040 minus $49,020 times the 20.5%. That's how we would get that number there. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's basically how it works. That's where these numbers come from. Is that clear for everyone? Okay. Well, we'll see this more clearly next class, but that's basically the logic right there. Okay. But anyway, same thing applies. 7,554 on 50,000 in income. Well, this person probably wants to eat. If they own a house, they probably want to pay their mortgage, or if they rent, they probably want to pay their rent, or they're going to be on the street. So therein lies the need for the tax credits. Does that make sense? Good. Okay. Okay. So let's say for this guy's a bit more money. He makes $193,300. So $193,300. We're going to be in the fourth tax bracket here. So we'll be right here. We follow the exact same logic as we did before. So 193,000 minus this 151,978. We take that number and multiply it by 29%, and then with that number we would add $31,425.98 to that, and that would be the tax payable. Make sense? Okay. So 43 grand in tax. So again, that's a lot of money. Okay. So we have federal tax. We are looking at what our federal tax is. So the T1 jacket, that's the federal tax form. But we also have provincial taxes too. And each province and territory has its own different set of taxes. Does that make sense? So here in Saskatchewan, the minimum tax rate is 10.5%. Maximum is 14.5%. Alberta, where I'm from, the minimum is 10%, maximum is 15%. Back when I was doing the tax class, it was 10% straight across the board. So basically, what that did was it benefited the rich people making a lot of money, and it didn't do anything for the people who weren't making much money. Does that make sense? So that's why they put in that maximum 15%. So, but basically, we can see that ranges from a minimum of 5.05% for Ontario to a maximum of 21% for Nova Scotia. Alright, so we have a big range there. Also notice that Quebec isn't in there. Reason why Quebec isn't in there is because Quebec is special. Quebec, they have their own set of laws, separate from Canada. They have their own set of tax rules. They everything is different in Quebec, right down to the freaking traffic lights. I've been to Quebec. It's like you're living in a totally different country, even though you're in Canada. And even we had a prime minister just before Justin Trudeau. His name was Stephen Harper, and Stephen Harper basically quelched the separatist movement in Quebec by acknowledging that Quebec was a distinct nation in Canada. That's all the Quebecers wanted, and because he made that distinction, that just quelched the separatist movement. So yeah, basically, yeah, Quebec's not on here because they're special. Does that make sense? Okay, we don't worry about Quebec in this course, we don't care about Quebec. But, any questions? Is that clear? Okay. Okay, so our provincial tax rate system in Saskatchewan, you guys don't really need to know this, that this is, we deal with federal tax here in this course, not provincial, but basically, our federal tax, schedule is SK 428. SK 428 is basically the same thing as, the T1 jacket, for our federal tax returns, but it's just on the provincial level, it's, the exact same idea. Does that make sense? So SK 428 is basically, our provincial tax jacket for, Saskatchewan residents. And the lowest, income rate, 10.5% on the first 45,677. Between 45,000 and 130,000, you're at 12.5, and anything above 130,000, you're at 14.5. Make sense? Okay, so that's basically what it is. Again, we don't care about this. This is just for your own knowledge. Make sense? Okay. So the basic tax system, if we go back to Joan Jett, she's making her $50,000. So this is on the provincial side. This isn't the federal side. So on the provincial side, 10.5% on her first 45,677. That's 4,796, and 12.5% on the next 4,323 to bring her up to 50 grand total. Make sense? So that's 540. So add all that up, that's 5,336. So if we take 5,336 and add it to her federal tax zoning of 7,554, that's 12,890. So if we take 12,890, divide that by 50,000, we're looking at a 25.78% tax rate. Okay, so yeah, if a quarter of her gross income is going toward taxes, yeah, she's not going to be able to afford to eat. Like, this is Canada. Make sense? She's not going to be able to afford to eat, pay rent, anything like that. She'll be in financial duress. So that's why, again, we have the tax credits. Make sense? Okay. Okay, yeah, so we've got that. Okay, so the tax credit system. The common deductions that we see. So if we go to, let's just go to page 4 for a second. We'll go to page 4. So common deductions that we have. We're going to get more into these when we get to tax 604, but common deductions would be like our RSPs, registered pension plans, annual union professional dues. That's pretty common. Pension splitting. That's pretty common. Universal child care, child care expenses. That's common. Moving expenses is common. Support payments is unfortunately common as well. Carrying charges, interest expenses, that's common. So these are common type of deductions that we have. Relatively speaking, we don't have that many deductions, but we have a whole bunch of tax credits. Some I've never seen before in my life. So those examples would be like your volunteer firefighter tax credits. I've never seen that before. Tax credits that you'll see all the time would be like your basic personal amount, which we'll talk about next class. The basic personal amount is basically your tax credit for being alive. Like hitting 18 years of age, being alive. Sierra's like, yeah, congratulations, you made it this far. We don't know how you did it, but congratulations, you're 18. Here's the tax credit. Make sense? So that's basically what that credit is. Everyone gets it. Make sense? Okay. All right, so that's page 4. and tax credits, like I said, page 5, page 6. Usually tax credits, once we add up all our tax credits, we multiply them by 15%. There are some exclusions to that. There are some exceptions. Exceptions, we'll get into those later on, but that'll be like your donation tax credits, different tax credits. That'll be another. That'll be also excluded from this 15%. Political donations that wouldn't fall into this 15%, but pretty much every other tax credit would. Make sense? Okay.
Sorry, how
Yeah.
does that 15% work?
Okay, so basically how it works is, basically what we have here, if we, okay, so like here are all our tax credits that start up here. So we have tax credits here, let's say we have some amounts here, add them up. We would carry them to the top of page 6, put the number up here. We have some more tax credits in here, add those up here. And then the total amount of tax credits that we have would go right here. That'll be the total amount. So let's say that's like $30,000 in tax credits. We'll put 30,000 here, multiply that by 15%, and then we would get a number here. Make sense? Okay. So now if it's 30,000 in tax credits multiplied by 15%, that's $4,500. So we would reduce our tax payable by $4,500. Make sense? So that's where that'll go, the $4,500. Does that make sense? Yeah. Well, we'll see an example of this next class, but that's basically what we're going to do. Is that clear? So we'll see how everything ties together. I just don't want to get too far ahead. Any other questions? Are we good? Okay. All right. So that's basically the first class. What we're going to do 122. Let is this your guys' last class of the day?
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't we just plow through it, shall we? And then we can all leave early and go our separate ways and reconvene on Wednesday, I think it is. Sound good? You guys just want to plow through?
Okay.
Okay, let's plow through. Okay, so that's basically our tax credit system. Okay, let's look at tax credits more in detail and just do some definitions. Most of our tax credits are non-refundable. So that means once we use them up, that's it. We have to wait till next year to use them. Or also, it can mean that if we don't have if we can only use part of the tax credit instead of the full amount, then we lose the unused portion. Does that make sense? So basically, non-refundable tax credits, they're used to reduce tax payable down to 0. If we reduce taxes down to 0, we still have some tax credits available. Well, we can't use those tax credits to create a refund. We can only reduce tax payable down to 0. Make sense? Okay, so that's non-refundable. Refundable tax credits, they're used to reduce tax payable down to 0, and any unused portion is refunded to you. Generally, we don't have too many of these. Examples would be the GST credit. So if you are a low-income earner and you file your tax return, then CRA will basically look at your GSTC form as part of your tax return and figure out how much GST refund you should get, and they pay that on a quarterly basis. So that's one example. Another example would be your carbon tax rebate. So you get your carbon tax rebate if you're filing your tax return and you're married, have a kid, at least one kid, over 18, or over 18, and you have a family, or if you're under 18, you're married, you get it. But basically, you have to be married, have a kid, that sort of thing. Like you have a family. Make sense? So if you do that, you'll get your carbon tax rebate. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's
What is Ontario Trillium benefits?
the Trillium benefits.
Yeah.
That's just particular to Ontario, and I look it up from time to time, but I keep forgetting what it is. But I don't even know what Trillium even is, but it has to do with healthcare. I don't really know much about it, but it has to do with healthcare. Yeah, the Trillium benefit. Okay. Oh no, it's not good for healthcare. So it's a tax payment that helps low and moderate income Ontario residents pay for energy costs, sales, and property tax. So no, it's not healthcare. So I don't know why I said that, but yeah. So that's basically what it is. It's only particular to Ontario. We don't deal with it here. It's outside the scope of this course. I know nothing about it, but that's basically what it is. Yeah. Does that make sense, though? Okay. Okay. So that's so like I said before, in general, the 50% rate is applied as a base amount. Some tax credits have income thresholds. You'd see that with the donation tax credits. That there's an income threshold there. And provinces have similar tax credits as well. So the SK 428 form, it basically mirrors this T1 jacket. So like you'd have your donation credits for provincial taxes. You'd have basic personal amount. It doesn't mirror perfectly. Like there's some credits that are only federal and some that are both. If you have a first-time home buyer's credit, there's a provincial portion for that as well. But yeah, makes sense? Is that clear? Okay. We don't care too much about provincial here, if at all. Okay, let's talk about the basic personal amount. Okay, the basic personal amount, we can see that maybe like 80% way down on page 5. Okay, so here's our basic personal amount right here. Basic personal amount is right here. So this is the tax credit you get for being alive. So if you're alive, you get that tax credit. And what it is basically if your income is or for 2021, if your income was less than 151,978, you get this full 13,808. If your income was between 151,978 and 216,511, this will be prorated. You do the proration on your federal worksheet, and if your income was 216,511 or more, you wouldn't get this full 13,808. You get 12,421. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. I think there's a question that we might do at some point whereby we need to prorate this, but generally speaking, like 99% of the questions that we would do, we would just take the full 13,808 because our income is going to be less than 151,978. Make sense? Good. Okay. All right. So that's the basic personal amount. It's your tax credit that you get for being alive. All right. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So if we take or 13,808. Multiply that by 0.15, that's 2,071. So basically, we get a $2,071 reduction in our tax payable just by being alive. Make sense? Okay. So, like I said, most individuals have incomes that falls lower than 151,978, so they'll claim the 13,808. All right, and like I said, if we apply a 15% rate to that, we get a reduction in taxes of $2,071 approximately. Make sense? So this personal tax amount is a non-refundable tax credit. So basically, that means if our income is, let's say, $10,000 for the year, like let's say we don't make anything, $10,000 is obviously less than 13,808. So if that's the case, then what would happen would be our income here would be we would put 10,000 here, multiply that by 15%, and then down here for this base personal amount, we would put 10,000 in here, multiply that by 15%, and we would have our taxes wiped out. We wouldn't owe any taxes whatsoever. The other 3,808, we would lose that. That would just be a wash. Make sense? Is that clear? Okay. Okay, going down a few lines, we get to line 30425. Let's just look at where we're at here. So going down here, Canada caregiver amount. This is another common credit we get, and it's 30425. So what that is if we're taking care of a spouse or common law partner as a caregiver. So a caregiver means that like the person we're taking of is infirmed and they depend on us for support. Does that make sense? So, and this person has to be, over 18. Let's see here. What is this? Yeah. So the spouse basically, actually I should say over 18. The spouse has to be over 16 because legal age for marrying is 16. So the spouse has to be at least 16 years of age and be dependent on you for basically to live. Make sense? So for example, like I have a 3-month-old kid. My 3-month-old kid is a baby and basically depends on us parents to take care of the baby. So yeah, we wouldn't get a caregiver for that. Does that make sense? Okay, so this one pertains to spouse, common law partners, 18 or older, or eligible dependent 18 or older. So yeah, we'd be going in here, and to figure out this amount, we would use Schedule 5, which we're going to be seeing come basically the end of this class. Make sense? So we'll be looking at Demo 4.2. We'll go through that. We'll do a caregiver amount, and we'll see how this all applies. Make sense? Okay. Okay. So, like I said, Canada caregiver amount is claimed by individuals that are responsible for care and support of a related person who are mentally or physically infirm. So, to be considered mentally or physically infirm by CRA, there has to be a form signed by the doctor saying that yes, this person is mentally or physically infirm. They need assistance in order to live, and then you take that form, send it off to CRA. CRA has it on file. Make sense? Okay. So being infirmed is described as a physical or mental weakness or ailment, and this ailment needs to be such that like you're basically depending on someone else to take care of you. Does that make sense? Okay. And it has to be ongoing for a considerable period of time. So, like if you're infirm for like a year, then yeah, you probably won't get the caregiver amount. But if you're born infirmed and you're going to be infirm for the rest of your life, then yeah, you're going to get the caregiver amount. Make sense? Or at least your spouse would, because it's supposed to take care of you. Make sense? Okay. So a dependent, we define dependent as any individual dependent on you to provide support regularly and consistently for some or all of basic necessities of life. So food, clothing, shelter, that sort of thing. So like my 2-month-old, my four-year-old, they're dependents because obviously, we need to feed them, shelter them, clothe them, that sort of thing. Make sense? Okay. So any questions with that? We good? Okay. Okay, spousal or common law partner amount. Okay, so what this is so you have your basic personal amount that we just talked about. Your basic personal amount being the tax credit that you get for being alive. If you're making a bunch of money and your spouse barely has any income, what can happen here is that you can claim your spouse's basic personal amount, or at least a portion of it, depending on how much income they make. If they don't have any income, then you can claim the entire basic personal amount. If they have, let's say, $9,000 and their basic personal amount is the 13,808, you can claim 4,808, which is the difference between 13,808 and 9,000. Make sense? So we'll see examples of that as well, but it's on Schedule 5. And what you do is like you take your basic personal amount, you figure out your spouse's income minus the two numbers, and that's the amount that you're going to claim for your spousal amount. Now, if your spouse is infirmed, if you're providing caregiver services for your spouse, then you can add another $2,295 on top of that. Make sense? Okay. We'll see an example of this when we do demo 4 too. But are there any questions on this?
What? Sorry,
Sure.
there's references here that I just wanted to take time and check.
Okay.
Line 3,000 is
Yeah, so that's your basic personal.
basic personal amount, so that's
Yeah.
13,800.
15,800.
13,808.
Yeah, 13,808. Okay.
Then you're entitled to the caregiver amount.
Yeah. If you're taking care of your spouse, yeah.
Okay, so this is not line.
Yeah. So that'll be on.
Which line is this?
Okay. So
'Cause I thought it was 3,300.
yeah, that what you're looking at right there. If we go to page 2 of our Schedule 5 form, you'll see all that there.
Page 2, schedule.
Yeah, page 2 of Schedule 5. You have this right here. So you put in basic personal amount on your return, that'll be the 13,808. If you're taking care of the spouse, you add $22.95 there, and then add them up, get a number there, and then from there you take off your spouse's net income from here, and then the difference is basically how much you're going to claim as your spousal amount. So that's going to go on line 30300, which is
So your spouse has to make almost nothing.
yeah, basically yeah.
So that's like that's 13,808 plus 2,200. So your spouse has to make less than 15,000 a year.
Basically yeah. If they're firm, but yeah.
Well, this isn't asking if it's infirm. This is the 300.
Yeah, well, you only get that $22.95 if the spouse is infirm. If they aren't infirm, then you leave it blank. You leave it out.
Right.
Yeah.
But they would do their own tax returns.
They would.
So they'd already get their own personal amount.
Well, the thing is that if they put it on theirs, then it's just a wash because they aren't making anything. So what's going to happen is, you're right. They would put it on their own. So let's say they make 9,000 a year. They would put 9,000 here, multiply by 50%, get a number, and then down here they put 9,000 here. But the difference between 9,000 and 13,808, that's what's going to be claimed by the spouse.
The difference between.
Yeah, so that's what's going to go on the spouse's Schedule 5 form on page 2.
236.
Yeah.
Your spouse's net income from 23600.
Yeah, so that's basically going to be their net income, 23600. So that would be right down here, their net income. That'll be that number there. Yeah, does that make sense?
No, but we'll do a demo.
We're going to do it now. Okay. So, only one spouse or common law partner may claim the credit. Well, that makes sense. Basically, the higher income spouse is going to claim the credit. And the definition of a spouse, persons who are legally married, that's the definition of a spouse. Common law partner is a person who cohabits with the taxpayer in a conjugal relationship and has lived with the person for at least 1 year, or is a parent of a child of whom the taxpayer is also a parent. Make sense? Okay, so that's common law. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
So it is possible that a co-parent
Mhm.
does not live. No, a person who cohabits.
Yeah.
With the taxpayer in a conjugal relationship, and
Mhm.
it's been a year, or they're a co-parent.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so they can't be living in separate houses.
Yeah, that's right.
They can't be like, so sometimes people will separate, but the mom will live upstairs and the dad will live downstairs.
Yeah.
But they're separated. That's not a thing. That's no longer a common law partnership.
No.
Because it's not a conjugal relationship.
Yeah. You might be able to consider common law, but usually in that case, that one person's going to eventually leave, so and find their own place.
I knew a guy who did that for 4 years. Yep.
Okay. All right. So, caregiver amount for a spouse or common law partner. So, let's say there's an individual has a spouse or common law partner who is physically or mentally infirm, and they have income between $7,358 and $24,604. So, on top of this amount here, this caregiver amount, $22.95, we can also get a caregiver amount for a spouse or common law partner, and that's going to be on, let's see here, 0425. Let me just buy that. 0425. Okay, so we're looking at basically the bottom of page 4. So let's look at the bottom of page 4 here. So bottom of page 4, this is going to be candidate caregiver amount for a spousal common law partner or eligible dependent age 18 or over. So we can claim the amount for your spousal common law partner on line 20300 of your return or an eligible dependent 18 years of age or older on line 20400 on their return. So only one claim can be made for the amount. And we can only do this calculation if we entered that 2295 on on line 5109 or 51110 of the schedule. So that is let's see here. 51109. So that is 5109. Where is it? 519. Where is it? Okay. I'm not sure that. Where is that? Okay. So basically, what this is okay. We have a spouse, and spouses make between $7,300 and $24,000. So this is basically for a spouse that is making some money that they're infirmed. We're helping to take care of them, but at least they're able to make a little bit more money. So if that's the case, then okay, the base amount is $24,604. What we're going to do is we'll take off their net income. That's from line 23600 of their return, and we'll have it mounted here. The maximum we can claim is $7,348, and what we would do, we would put basically let's see here. We would put whichever is less. Either the amount in here, which is $24,604 minus the net income, or $7,348, whatever's less. And then on the amount claimed on line 30300 or 30400 of your return, we're going to take that out. So what that is let's see here. That is, so we're looking at this here. The spouse or common law partner amount. We would either take that out if it's a spouse, or if it's an eligible dependent, we would take out this amount here. So basically, we're doing that because we don't want, or CRA doesn't want us to get like double credit basically. Does that make sense? So we would have that. Are there any questions?
Yeah, but we'll get to them when we see demos.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I kind of figured there would be. Okay, so that's what we have here. Okay, let's do demo question number 2 finally. Okay, demo question 2. I'm just going to write this down just so I have reference for everything. Does everyone have these sheets here? We do? Okay, so Aaron's net income is what is it? 63,000. Okay. Wife is Jana. Net income is 9,000. Okay. So A is Jana's okay. And B, Jana is infirm. Okay. Okay. So we'll look at this here. All right. Okay, so for this, what I'm going to do is okay, so I'm going to define. Okay, so I'm going to define A as Jana is okay, and B, Jana is infirm. So Jana is infirm, that's going to be in red. A is Jana is okay. Make sense? Okay. All right. So what do we know? Let's say that we're doing Aaron's tax return. So we know he has net income of 63,000. So total income, I'm just going to write 63,000 here. This guy doesn't have any deductions whatsoever. That's fine. So up here we'll write 63,000 and down here net income 63,000. Okay, so we have that. Make sense? Okay.
2, 3, 6.
Okay, so taxable income, we're on page 5 now, 63,000. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to figure out how much this guy owes. First off, we have to see what tax bracket he's in. Obviously, 63,000 is between 49,000 and 98,000. So where's this tax bracket here? Clear? Okay, so 63,000, we'll pop that there. And 63,000 minus 49020, 13,980. Okay, so 13,980, we'll multiply that by 0.205, and that's 2,865.90. So 2,865.90. We'll add that to our 7,353. So 7,353 is just 0.15 times 49,012. Make sense? Okay, so we get $10,218.90. Okay, so what tax credits does Aaron get? Well, Aaron is alive, so he's going to get this tax credit here, the basic personal amount. So we'll pop in our 13,808 right there. Okay. Now, Aaron also has a spouse as well. So Aaron has a spouse. What we're going to do is we're going to go to our Schedule 5, and we're going to go here, page 2, and down page 2 says basic personal amount from line 30,000 year return. That's your basic personal amount. So pop in 13,808 there. Okay. Now we're doing it in black. We're assuming that John is okay. That John is his wife. So we aren't going to have anything in here because the spouse is okay. So line 1 plus 2, that's going to be 13,808. I'm just going to put a 0 in here. So we do that, and then we're going to minus the $9,000. That's her income. So let's do that. We'll minus $9,000. That's her income. So 13 minus 9, that's 4,808. Does that make sense? We got 4,808. So this 4,808, that's going to go on line 30300 of our return, which is this right here. So we'll put in 4808 here. Okay. I just want to see something here. Demo solutions. I just want to just see something just for a quick second. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay. 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 All right. Okay. Good. Okay. We're good. Okay. So 4808 there. So okay, we're happy. Let's take this 13808 plus 4808 there. So 13808 plus 4808, that's 18616. So 18606, and that's how much we have for tax credits. So what we're going to do, if we're completing this guy's return, we'll take this 18606 here.
616.
No, it's 6606. Yeah. So we'll eventually get down here. We'll put in our 18606 here. Multiply that. Where's it 616? Oh, it is 616. Yeah. Okay. 616. Thank you. We're going to multiply that by 0.15, and that's 279240. So that means Aaron's going to have his taxes reduced by $2,792.40. Does that make sense? So initially we are at 10218 here. So this 10218 is going to be reduced by this 279240. Make sense? Is that clear for everyone? Good? Okay. So that's what's going to happen if Jen is okay. So she's not affirmed or anything, she's okay, she's, just doesn't want to work for whatever reason. Is that clear?
So his wife also claim her T1.
Yeah.
Do exactly the same, but on the
Yeah, so
13300 is 0, right?
Yeah, so what's it going to look like on her? So let's say, this is Jana here, I'll just do Jana. So what's going to happen here, let's say this is Jana's return. So taxable income, 9 grand. So she's obviously lowest tax bracket, that's 9,000, 9,000 times 0.15 is 1350. Okay, so 1350 in taxes owing. What's going to happen here is obviously 9,000 is less than 13,808. So and her income is also less than this 151,978. So we'll get 13,808 here. And then what's going to happen is if we go to page 6 here, we're going to have this 13,808 multiplied by 0.15. 808 times 0.15, which is 2072. But the thing is she only owed 1350, right? So she owes 1350, but we have $2,072 in taxes being reduced. So basically, what we have here is now a minimization function whereby we have 2072 and 1350. So we can only reduce up to and including 1350 in taxes. So the other about $722 is probably wash. So all right, does that make sense? Okay, so that's basically how that works. Is that clear for everyone? Good? Okay. Alright, let's go on to B. B is where Jana is infirm, so she's not okay. Okay, we're back on Aaron's return. So this is Aaron's return here. Everything up to this point is exactly the same. Does that make sense? So everything up to here is the same. What's going to be different is we're going to have a different number here, and we're going to have a non-zero number here as well. So that's different, and we're going to have a non-zero number here. Does that make sense? Is that clear for everyone? Okay, so let's see how this works. Okay, let's go back to our schedule 5 here, page 2. So page 2, we have Aaron's basic personal amount, 13,808. Clear? We have that's static, that doesn't. But now we have Janet is infirm. So instead of this being 0, we can claim 2295 here. So we're going to bump this 13,808 up by 2295. So that now gives us 13,808 plus 2295. That's 16,103. So instead of 13,808 here, we have 16,103. Is that clear? Okay, so from the 16,103, we take off 9 grand. So that's her salary, that's static, that doesn't change. So now, instead of 4,808 here, we have 7,103. Does that make sense? Is that clear? Okay. So that's 7,103. That is going to go right here. We're going to replace this 4,808 with 7,103. So I'll pop in 7,103 right there. Does that make sense? Okay. Now we aren't done yet because Erin is a caregiver for Jana. Erin's taking care of Jana because she's infirm for whatever reason. So what we're going to do now is what page did I say that was on? Okay, page 4, bottom of page 4. So what we have here, Jana's income is 9,000. So Jana's income is 9,000. So we know obviously 7,368 is less than 9,000. 9,000 is less than 24,604. So we have this here. Make sense? Okay, so your income falls somewhere between there. So what we're going to do, we're going to take this 24,604 minus 9 grand. So minus 9 grand from Jana's return, and that's going to give us 24,604 minus 9,000. That's 15,604. Okay, but 15,604 is less than 7,348. Yeah, 15,604 is more than 7,348. The maximum we can claim is 7,348. Does that make sense? So we can't get this full 15,604. We can only get 7,348. So let's cross that out and replace it with 7,348 right there. Sound good? Okay. Is everyone following?
Yeah.
So we do that. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to take out the amount on line 30300, which is the amount that we claimed for basically Jana's personal amount. Is that clear? Okay, so that was 7103. So this is 7103. Okay, so well, take 7348 minus 7103. And that should be 245. So 7348 minus 7103. Okay, 7348 minus 7103 is 245. So we have $245 right there. Make sense? That 245 is going to go on 30425. So let's go here. We're gonna pop $245 right here. Make sense? Now, our new amount of tax credits is gonna be 1388 plus 7103 plus 245. So that's gonna equal 7103 plus 1388. That's gonna be 21,156. Does that make sense? Okay, so this is going to reduce Aaron's taxable or tax payable by 21,156 times 0.15 by $3,173. Does that make sense? So we would take this 10,218 and take off $3,173, and that's how much his tax bill will be. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's basically how this works. Any questions? Are we good? Good, okay. Alright, so what I would encourage you guys to do is just go back through, do this question again, and just if you have any other questions, just come talk to me. But we don't have any questions. We're good. Okay. So yeah, try this question again on your own. It's a demo question 14. We also have the solution in Brightspace as well.
Can we play around with the numbers a little bit?
Sure.
So if Jana makes, what's that number? 7,713. Oh, no. 7,368. Why does she get a 0 on 30425? Like on line 30425.
Let's
So
look
if
at the loss from that.
it has to do with that 2295 number.
Yeah.
From
So
30.
yeah, the maximum is
300.
1748. So basically, she doesn't get, if she doesn't make any money whatsoever, she's going to get the full. The husband's going to be able to claim the full 1748, and he's also going to be able to claim a full basic personal loan as well.
If she doesn't make any money,
Yeah.
he can't even get to that calculation, right? Because you're only allowed to do this calculation if the net income is between 3,968. So if she makes
Yeah, that's good.
if she makes 3,968,
Yeah.
what's going to happen is, shoot, I knew the answer. It's gonna then she makes 3,968. Then
That's a pretty exact number.
yeah, but it doesn't seem quite right. Like I don't understand why it's there.
What's there?
That 7,000
Oh,
368.
okay, yes, that's just imposed to us by CRA.
I don't think so. I think it is based on another part of the calculation for line 30,300. Right. There's a CRA is telling us there's a point where there's no point in doing it because we've
Yeah,
already got the maximum for this.
uh, let's see. Yeah, it's being imposed by CRA because these numbers are indexed, like they change from year to year. Like 2023, this is like 7,999. So yeah, these things change from year to year, but yeah. We could play around with it a little bit. So let's say instead of 9,000, 7,368. We could try that. So 13,808 minus 7,368. That would be 6,440.
13,808 minus
And then
3.
Okay.
Why did you do that? 13,808 is line 30,000 or 30,000.
Yeah.
And then you minus. Then we would do 30,300, which would be. Sorry, I had my calculator.
is
Minus 7,
okay.
368.
Yeah, so if it's 7,368, I just did it real quick.
8,735.
Yeah, so
And
yeah, if it's well, did you get it?
well, get what?
Oh, I just thought you were playing around with it. Or...
No, I was playing around with
Okay. All right. Well. Yeah.
4,064.
Let's just look at this.
7,368 equals.
Okay. All right. So if her income was 7,368, so that's like the lowest it could be in order for us to do that calculation for her. So if it's 7,368, then yeah, the amount that the husband could claim would be 6,440. So instead of 9,000, it's 7,368. So yeah, 6,440 would be the amount that he could claim as or he could claim for John as basic personal amount. So with that in mind, we would have our 7,368 income. The income 24,604 minus 7,368 would be 7,348. So yeah, we would only get the 7,348, and so yeah, we would only be able to get $928 for Jana's caregiver amount.
So her income went down by 1,500,
Yeah,
and then her amount goes up. Her caregiver amount goes up. That makes sense.
yeah, it goes up what, like about $700, like 680 or so. So yeah, that's basically how it works. But like I said, this 74 rate, it's just a threshold that's indexed and it just goes up each year. Like if we look at schedule, if we pull up a schedule 5 for CRA, this is gonna be the 2024 one. So yeah, this is the 2024 here. Yeah, we can see that this is 2,616. What we have on ours for 2021 is 2,295. So that's indexed as well. Page 4, yeah, we have different amounts here because they're indexed. Maximum is 8375 for 2024. So they change each year, but the logic is exactly the same. Does that make sense?
No.
Oh, I know it's CRA, but the logic is all the same. Yeah,
Why wouldn't there be more tax credits for someone whose wife isn't making any money?
you know,
You have to be infirm
that's what I
and
wondered
making
too.
money.
Like everyone asks that question, and that's what I'm wondering too. That's like the $1 billion question. It's like, yeah, it's a great question. I don't have any answer for that, but yeah, that's what CRA says. So that's what they give. But yeah, I've often wondered that too. Any other questions? You good?
Seven, 3, 5. $24,604 minus 7, 3. I'm getting different numbers than you are. 2, 7, 734, 8 minus 710.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions, those of you who don't have any questions, you guys can take off. If you have questions, you can stick around.
So I'm getting significantly different numbers than you are. I can't get that 900 number.
I think he forgot to deduct to 2295. Oh,
You'd have to put the 2295 on page 2.
Right, I'm doing it here. So I've got this one where you've got 13,808, 2295.
Yep.
And then
but you forgot to add 2295 in your calculation.
yeah, so when you do this one with 7368, you end up with 3,300 line of 8735.
Okay.
And when you put that in here,
Yeah.
you get negative. You get a negative number here.
Okay.
So then this becomes 0.
It should be 0. Because the max you can get is 74.8, so you'd put that there.
Yeah, but then you
And
have
then,
line 30,300,
yeah,
which is 8735. So you do 7,300 minus 8,700 is
yeah,
a negative number.
okay, let me look at that then.
You deduct 9,000.
Okay,
No,
yeah, so
this is
yeah,
73,
13,808 plus 2295 is the 6103. So 16,103 minus the 7368 is 875. Okay.
So it's 735. Okay, so yeah, made a mistake there. Okay. It's 735. This is why I don't do these things pencil to paper. Okay, it's 735. So yeah, so that minus 7268 is that maximum 7248. That. What are we doing here? 808.
And this is 7348. 7348. 16. 103. Should be 8,755.
Okay, so
That's the
minus.
the thing is you're still getting this amount.
Yeah.
So this one becomes 0. As you go down, below this number, or even getting close to it,
That's going to increase.
then this
Yeah.
becomes 0.
Yeah, and
You're just looking at here.
Yeah,
So this amount is just very poorly named.
basically, yeah.
This is a reward if you can get your dependent to work and bring in income.
Yeah.
When that goes up above 24,000, what happens?
Then if it goes above, then this is just going to be 0. So you won't be able to get it.
Oh yeah, if it goes
Yeah.
up above.
Yeah, this would just be a wash, and then you wouldn't even get this either, because you'd be above the basic personal amount.
No, something else happens. Because now you have to be thinking about
Yeah, well,
this.
yeah,
So when
but
you've got 29,000 here.
yeah, but if Jen is making over the basic personal amount, so she's going to be claiming that there won't be any transfer, so that you wouldn't get this. This would be a wash. You wouldn't get this.
No, you wouldn't get that.
No.
You've got 3,000 in taxes, which you are going to see. This would be 2295.
Mhm.
2295. That's going to be 0.
Yeah.
000 on her taxes. No,
Yeah.
she doesn't have any of this on her taxes.
Yeah, that's right.
So she's just going to be 1388. 2,000. That's 3,600. Weird. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just texting my wife.